Sure, and you can just copy your notes. So, guys, if you have friends, hey, people. If you have friends that are out, which, by the way, if you're out for orchestra or whatever, have fun on your trip today. If you have friends that aren't here, and then they come back and they're asking you about the notes from today, you are allowed to have us, like, Xerox them. Like, just make a copy of it for you. So we will... Hold up. I got to pass it to the next class. You have 3-1.
I have 3-1. How much candy did you get, Mr. Hudson?
Me, I passed it out, dude.
What? You said you were a firefighter.
Yeah, I dressed up to pass out candy.
When did you dress up enough to not go trick-or-treating?
I mean, that depends.
That's rude, Sean.
You know how they say... So you know how they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder?
Yeah.
I think trick-or-treating is up to whoever's going trick-or-treating. All right, guys, we need to focus. Gentlemen, we need to focus. If you can't sit where you are and focus, change.
Jeremiah, move. Where's half our
Who's your first?
Hey, Jeremiah, move. So, we are going to run through these lessons quickly, but if your orchestra friends get back, they can either get a copy of the notes and like copy your notes, like they can write them out, which will help them learn the material, or because this is stuff that we've kind of done before, they can, like, if you ask me, I'll take you to the copy machine. Now, the thing is, if you take notes in pencil, it may not come out on the copy machine. So we could turn up the darkness or whatever, but that or they can just take their own notes. So most of us are probably going to want a calculator for today. Yes. So if you want one of these, I will set them right here.
Wait, did you start?
Yeah, we're recording.
Hello. Half of our class.
So we are debating between drum sets. If you don't know this yet, I am a drummer. And let's say that I've decided to buy a new drum kit. And actually, the drum set is also known as the drum kit. So we look at the reviews. And the reviews for the blue kit here, 9 of 13 people that bought this kit love it. And on the red kit, 15 of 21 people bought it. So someone's looking over my shoulder and they say, dude, buy the red kit. I said, well, why should I buy the red kit? And they're like, well, duh, it's got more people that love it. So if you were having to make this decision, and this is going to be tough with people being gone today, but if you were having to make this decision, what do you think you would do, Ellie?
I would probably find the common ratio between the two. Or you can reduce the get it to its simplest form.
Ooh, I love that idea. Get it to its simplest form. Now, here's the problem, though. 13 is a prime number. And 21 and 15 don't really look like they'll work that nice together. They could be divided by 3. Then we get like 5/7, and then that's a messy fraction. So if instead of using fractions to compare, if we can't do that, Sean? Yeah, that'd still be a decent amount of work to do. Mr. Hone?
Convert it to a percentage.
We could instead convert to percentages, which is what most online sellers do. They take their reviews and they spit you out some percentage. So you might look at a review that says 100% of people love this product. But what could be the problem with that 100%?
It can only be like 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, it could be 2 people out of 2 people love this product.
And it could,
Jeremiah?
this
It could suck.
I just wanted to say, this is actually a really, really easy one. Like, you could obviously know to buy the blue one.
Why?
I mean, you can tell because it's only a few, like, a few away. That's only, like, 9 and 13 are really close, and then 15 and 21 are pretty far away.
Okay, so 9 and 13 are 4 away from each other, right? If we talk about the difference. 15 and 21 are 6 away from each other. Let's just go ahead and calculate these percentages. So in your calculator, you would set up 9 over 13, and you get a decimal value. What do you then do with that decimal value that you should just do automatically in your calculator? Monis?
Wait.
I said Monis, I'm fairly certain. What do I do with that decimal value?
Of 9 over 13?
Yeah, so once I get this decimal number, no matter what problem I'm doing, if I'm trying to get to a percent, we then...
Multiply by 100.
Yeah, we multiply by 100. Or if you're good at this, you can just shift your decimal in your head. So after we get that multiplication of 100, or after we do that, what do we get, Moms?
69.2307692.
So let's go to the tenths place.
Okay, 2, 3. No.
69 0.2%. Love that kit. For the red kit, we would do the same thing, except we have 15 out of 21. Now, I know that 15 out of 20 would actually be 75%. Jeremiah, what do I get for 15 out of 21?
You would get 0.71. Multiply that by 100, you'd get 71.4.
So wait a minute.
Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, you were wrong,
You're
man.
still really close, so it doesn't matter.
They are still really close. So, for argumentative sake, if my percents are really close, but this one has more people that have reviewed it, I'm going to trust the more people. The bigger your group gets, and when we get to statistics, we'll talk a lot about this, but the bigger your group gets, the more accurate you would assume the data is.
Or maybe they just told their friends it's good.
Yeah, so these problems, like I said, I used to use the Pearson system. So the problem showed a little video of a drummer like breaking his drum set. But yeah, I should just take a video of me drumming for that launch. Here are 3 different setups of your percent equation. The percent equation is this equation right here. Or 2 other manipulations of it. There are 3 ways that we use our percent equation. So this is if we're looking for the parts. And guys, here's where I really would encourage you to write this down. Finding the part, fairly easy. The formula works well. We plug in the percent, we plug in the whole. It's finding the whole where most people have the issue. And I will go ahead and tell you, these are the last 2 problems on your homework. I know for sure, because I just put them there. I would write down this equation. To find the whole amount, we're really doing the part that we know divided by our rate, which is really our percent. But why did I say rate instead of percent? Sam?
Because there would be 2 P's.
No. I agree. Like, I want to avoid using the same letters, but that's not specifically why.
Over 100?
So this rate is my percent, but it's the decimal form. So rate really means decimal form of your percent. So it is your percent, but in decimal form. So like 50%, I can't plug in 50 down here. I have to plug in 0.5 because that's what it is as a rate.
I need to write down.
And then finding the percent, this one we've done before. But finding the percent is the last manipulation of our equation, and this one's pretty easy because we've done it a lot. How do I find the percent? Ellie?
You divide by 100, which is basically...
Now that's converting the percent.
Sorry.
No, you're okay.
Finding the percent is taking the part equals percent times whole.
Right, but that's if I'm looking for the... So we can use that equation. We can, and if we're good at solving equations, we could use this and then just like divide by 40 up here. But instead, I could write my other, like a manipulation of the equation. Jeremiah?
Is it whole?
Part
Divided by whole.
times the 100.
We did that in another one of the notes.
Yeah, I know. We like back in a couple chapters ago. That's why I said this should go quickly. This is why we're trying to cover 2 lessons today. We like a lot of this is just application of what we've done. Now, in a couple days, we're going to take our percent work and extend it further and talk about like some banking and some finance type things. But these first couple lessons are kind of review.
You know what's weird?
A lot of things.
So we learn things in 6th grade, and then we forget why we do it, but we know how to do it.
Yeah, this year's a lot more like application. So I want you guys first down here to figure out what is it that we're looking for, and then find that value. So 4 is what percent? Well, I'm looking for a percent there. 65 is something times x. Well, this 30 over 100, what would that 30 over 100 be?
3.
Nope.
This is like my rate form of my percent, right? So this is really my percent. Here we're looking for the whole. This what is 79% of 126, we're looking for the part. So this really is asking us, right, whether each question is looking for the part, percent, or whole. So then we're going to work on finding them. So first thing we want to do, what is it looking for? So here, it's looking for the percent. Here, it's looking for the whole. Here, we're looking for the part, because blank is 79% of a total. Hey, Jeremiah, I think you're missing out on what we're actually doing first. We're identifying what it is we're looking for, then we're going to go solve them. So then if 11 is blank times 50, well, that m would have to be my percent value. Y equals 0.48 times 21. Well, this 0.48 is the rate form of my percent. So here we're looking for the part. And 4% of some number is 12. We're looking for the whole. Finding the whole is the hardest part here. It's where kids have the most mistakes. So stay with me here. Let's at least solve B and F to practice finding that whole value. Because then the got it does the same thing. It looks for the whole. So if we know, and B, I'm actually going to show you another way to do this because how B is set up. So B is set up 65 is, and this 30 over 100, that's really like 30%, but they go ahead and give it to you in rate form of 30 hundredths. So this is my rate times some unknown whole. Now, if you go back to your formula that you have written like just right on your paper above this, to find the whole, we take the part and divide by the rate form. This is because, and when we get into equation solving, we're going to do a ton of this. Like you guys have already told me, if I want to get x by itself, I got to get rid of whatever's connected with it. And if it's connected through multiplication, we can divide. And that's how I make that formula of the whole value will equal the part divided by the rate. That's exactly how it happens. To get rid of the rate, I'd have to divide by it. So these cancel each other out and become a 1, and then I get that x is equal to whatever this division gives me, which is, just give it to me.
216.7.
216.7.
0.6.
Yeah, but we're rounding because it goes 6 on for
Yeah, so if we round to the tenths, then it, or is it 0.6 forever?
Yeah.
Then we could write the repeating if we want. If you want. And I would be specific on my questions. A lot of our practice questions come out to be like integer values or terminating decimals. So here, if we had identified in F that we're looking for the whole value, then 12 has to be the part. 4%, I can't use my percent though. So if I start by saying that the whole value is part divided by rate, my part is 12, but what's my rate?
4%.
That's not the rate though, that's the percent. Mr. Hone?
0.4.
Not quite. What does percent tell me to do? Do you know? Huh? Sam? Divide by 100. So, Monica, this really becomes
0.004.
ooh, close, but not quite. Guys, just put the 4.
Right, 0.0.
Hold up. Just put the 4 over the 100 and read it. This is 4 hundredths. So it comes out to be 4 hundredths. It's exactly how it reads. So when I put it over the 100, it just becomes that 4 hundredths. So now I do that division, and we get... No?
300.
Thank you, Noah. And then Jeremiah kind of talked over. So try the got it on your own. If 190 is 10% of some number, remember part is percent times whole. Well, this tells me that I'm looking for the whole. So we have to solve for whole. And that's going to equal. So go ahead and do this on your own. So Sean, did you do that division yet? What did you get?
I got 1,900.
The only reason I knew that, 10%, yeah, is 1/10. So if we know it's 1/10 of something, the total has to be 10 times that. So the The division that we set up here was 190 divided by 1/10, or 10 hundredths, or 1/10, but really it's 10 hundredths, but that zero is unimportant. And we get 1900. Any questions? Let's flip to the back.
What about the other questions on the example? Do they really matter?
Those are easier to solve, so we're not going to worry about those because we're going to solve these on the back to practice that out. So we need to remember the verbal to mathematical transfer here. So when we read a percent equation, it uses the word is and it uses the word of. Is always represents,
Division?
if I tell you a dozen eggs is 12, it's equals. Is always is telling you what something equals. Jeremiah?
And of means division?
No. That's per means division. Of tells me to multiply.
How come this school feels shorter than elementary, but it's actually longer?
I don't
What?
think it does.
Rephrase that question.
How come this school feels shorter than elementary? But it's
Oh,
actually
feels?
Yeah.
Because you move around a lot and you're more mature now, so you can deal with a school day, and we have your brain more engaged than you probably used to be in elementary school. Sean?
Well, plus each class is only 45 minutes, but in elementary, each class was an hour and a half.
Yeah, so it felt really, that's what I mean by we have you moving more often. The more you do in a day makes it seem like you go fast. Like,
So that's why it's
Yeah.
basic.
here, if we think about this in percent equation form, somewhere, and you could put it right down here at the bottom if you want, my main percent formula is part equals percent times whole. So these are all set up just like that. Here we're looking for percent, but here we're looking for the thing that's last in my percent equation, and here we're looking for the thing that's first. So really, if you want to label these, here we're looking for percent, here we're looking for whole, and here we're looking for part. So then I can use my other formulas that I know. There's really only 3 formulas needed. Well, okay, I'm going to teach you 2 more for the chapter. But right now in this homework, those 3 formulas that we wrote down on the top are your main references. So to find a percent, what would I do, Mr. Cargiotis, to find this percent in that first setup there?
Well, what I did was I just multiplied 50 by 2 to make it 100%.
So Julian's saying what is some percent of 100? But if 100 is my total, then Julian knew that this had to be 22. And if your total is 100, then that makes your percent 22. Now the other way that we can do this, if these numbers weren't as easy to work with as they are, because Julian, say this was 53, that'd be a pain in the butt and that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So Jeremiah, what would always work?
50 divided by 100 and then times 11.
Oh, that's...
That's not really the way that we want, that we really want to take.
Well, 11 divided by 100.
Remember, percent is part divided by whole. then we do times 100. Jeremiah?
So 11 divided by 50 times 100.
So we would do the part divided by the whole times 100, which still would come out to be 22%. I don't think, Mr. Smith, I don't think that your answer, like the first way you described it, I don't know that it would come out to be the same. I don't think it would.
Nope, it didn't.
Yeah. So be very careful that you're following the correct process. Think about why you're doing what you're doing. Don't just try to memorize like a formula or anything like that. Think about why. Well, I want to know this many out of this many and out of. Now that's where of can mean division, but that's out of. So be careful. If it's just of, it's multiplication. If it's out of, then it's division, because then we're talking about, part of a group. So if I'm looking for the whole in part 2 here, Ozzy's orchestra? I did not know that. Moms, how do I find the whole here?
This might. Okay. 25 is 4%. Oh, I did the cross multiplying thing.
Okay, so many right ways to get to Florida. So what did you set up?
So I set it up as 25 over x is equal to 4 over 100. And then I just did 100.
Hold up. Does anyone have a question how we set this up? I love this, but not all of us would think about this. If it tells me 25 is 4%, 25 equals 4%. Well, 25 out of something, right? 25 is not the whole thing because it's only 4%. So 25 out of something is gonna equal 4%. But what is 4% really? It's 4 out of 100. So Monica just set this up as a proportion, said, I can just solve it this way. And if I make this a variable, then you said,
Then I did cross multiplying, which is 100 times 25, 2500 divided by 4, 625.
Holy
Yes,
cow, that
that's
was
what I got.
so 25 times the 100 really gives you 2500. I'm going to color code this in a second. Then we get 4x. So my yellow multiplication gave me 2500. My green gave me 4x.
Yes.
I then divide, I'm going to do that in red. A lot of times, guys, and this is why I encourage you to get either a couple colored pens or something as we get to the equation work. If we're doing something on both sides, I would code that with a different color. So we divide by 4 and divide by 4, 625. So that is a great way to solve for the whole value. That's one of many ways that works. The other way, if we straight up use the formula that we had on the front, is we know the part, we know the percent, and we can turn that into a rate. My mistake.
It was 625 or 6.25? Can't read
It was 625.
Okay.
So, and that goes back to think through this. If 25 is 4%, 4% is not very much. So some people have had reason through this in different ways. I had a kid one time say, well, if I multiply this by 10, I get 40%. So I multiply that by 10. And then if I double that, I can get to 80%. And they had really weird ways to work through it. But we know we're trying to find our 100%. So I had another kid who said, well, if I take that down to 1%, then I can multiply by 100. That works also. However it makes sense to you is perfectly fine. But if I do this division part divided by rate, I will get my 625. So however you get there, it's fine. There's a lot of right ways to do this work. Then if something is 40% of 60, well, I can just calculate because 40% of 60, what's of tell me to do? Multiply. And I can do this multiplication because I know both of them. So I have that my part is going to equal, but 40% is really 0.40 times my 60 turns into 24. Because 4 times 6 is 24. So 0.4 and 6d kind of cancel each other out. This is a times 10, that's a divide by 10. They kind of wash each other out, and we still get 24. Jeremiah?
How that's what I did for the first problem, and it didn't did 40 divided by 100 and then times 60 and I got the exact answer.
Because here we're looking for the part. Here we were looking for a percent value. That's where I tried to stop you on the front, where we were identifying what is it that we're looking for. Right here where we were like identifying what are we looking for, that's the first step you have to take. Because we're looking for 3 different things here. We were looking for percent, we were looking for whole, and then we were looking for part. So they're different. So let's try these. These are all telling you all 3 pieces. Part is percent times whole. Part is percent times whole. Part is percent times whole. Part is, percent of whole is a part. So this just turns around your statement. We have to figure out which of these are true and which of these are false. The easiest way to do this, because I want to make your life easy, is do the math you're able to do with how it's written. So let's go through and either underline or highlight the math we can do. Of tells me to multiply. So can I do 50% of 14? Yeah. Could I do 14% of 200? Yeah. Could I do 40% of 14? Yeah. And could I do 40% of 35?
Yeah.
So those of statements that tell me to multiply, I can do them. And I can check, is that real? Well, some of these we don't even have to calculate. What's another way we can think about 50%?
3.5.
Half, right? 50%'s half of something. Is 7 half of 14?
Yes.
You bet it is. So put a check mark or a T or something there that you know it's true.
You didn't even have to do the work to do that one.
Now, 28 is 14% of 200. Can anyone reason through this without a calculator? So just like I was saying about those students who like think the different ways. Jeremiah?
Am I allowed to do it on paper?
For sake of time, since you asked that, I'm just going to keep rolling with what I was about to say. What if I asked you for 14% of 100? What would be 14% of 100? It'd be 14, right?
Yes. But since you have
But
200,
you
you
do
also have to
28.
have.
Okay.
So if you have 200,
You just have to
we
double it.
just double, and we get 28.
I don't
That
It
makes
understand.
makes
sense, I
no
get
sense.
it.
14% of 100. Well, if 100 is your whole, your percent is what you get. So we would get 14 here. But since it's not 100, it's 200. We have to double, and we get 28.
That makes so much
That makes sense, but Mr. Hudson, I was
Yeah.
also thinking, just to make it easier, you could divide 14 and 200 by 2 just to get like easier numbers. 7% of 100, and I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
I just thought that'd make
So
sense.
if you divide the 28 by 2 and the 200 by 2, because here's the issue. When you divided the 14 and the 200, those were both on the same side of your equals. You can't do that. If you do something on one side, you have to do it on the other side. So I could divide on both of these sides, but I can't divide twice on the same side. Jeremiah,
Can I answer the question?
for number 3,
Yup.
is it true?
It's no, it's false.
How do you know?
Because if you do 40% divided by 100 times 14, you get 5.6, not exactly.
Yeah.
So if we do 40 over 100, because that's the rate form, times 14, you said we get what?
5.6.
5.6. So it is not 6. And then 40% of 35. What if I cut this in half to find 20%? Or what if I did 10%? How do I find 10% of something?
Divide by 10.
Divide by 10, right? So if I divide this by 10, 10%
And
would be
multiply
3.5. And then I can
multiplied by 4.
multiply by 4. So if I did 3.5 times 4, what do you get?
0.20 plus.
So break it up.
14.
12 plus another 2, I get 14. And this is also true. So there's a lot of ways we can reason through this, not even needing a calculator. Okay, so you decide to go into hairstyling. It is a great career. I just was chatting with a 20-year-old hairstylist, well, a barber, I guess, because I went to Great Clips to get my hair cut this weekend. So a lot of times, depending on how long you work somewhere, you'll get different raises. So a hairstylist gets this note in their box. It says, congratulations, you've earned a raise. It says your current wage is what you make. So currently you make $7.50 per hour. It means divided by 1 hour. So if I did more money, I'd work more hours, obviously. If I work more hours, I make more money.
Wow, wait.
My raise is going to be 8%. That's a decent raise. We need to check, did my boss do this math right? Because I don't totally trust him. He's a great barber, but I don't think he's a very good mathematician. So let's check, what is 8% of my current wage? So over here, I want you to write my raise is going to be, or we could first write my raise is, because then we'll change that to an equals, 8% of my wage right now. So we could just put wage, but know that that's your current wage. And guys, I'm aware my G's are weird. I apologize for that, but just understand my G's look kind of weird. So I know it's supposed to loop and then do that, but when I write so quick, my loop doesn't really loop. And the smartboard doesn't help me either. So now convert this to math. The is becomes an equal. My 8%, what is that as a rate? 0.08. My wage, what's my wage right now? 7.50. So now, calculate that out. Did you get it, Andrew?
Yeah, he's
So my raise,
You're actually.
so wait, 0.6.
If you actually started doing that, you'd.
Hold on, 0.6.
Your boss is wrong.
Hold on. This is not money.
Percentage.
Yet. Huh?
Cents? Or
0.6 cents?
it's 6%. That's right.
No.
60 cents.
Guys, this is where you have to think about, what am I solving? I'm solving for a dollar amount.
Yeah.
So when I get my answer, don't say like, oh no, wait, that's a percent. No.
No.
Think. Don't guess, think. This is a dollar amount. This zero, unimportant until we're talking about money.
Yeah.
When we're talking about money, that's important. I put my dollar sign out here. I make sure that I have 2 decimal places. This is 60 cents. Is his memo correct?
No.
No. I need to go fix my boss and tell him like, hey, either you told me the wrong percentage or you did your math wrong.
I hope we told you the wrong percentage because then we get more money.
Well, or my percentage might be lower than 8%. And maybe he was rounding the percent to try to make me feel nice or something like that. Be careful with your decimal places.
You're wrong, boss.
So, if you leave a $3 tip, and that's supposed to be 20% of the haircut cost. Normally, a 20% tip is about standard. If you have good service, you normally tip about 20%. What was the haircut price? So we're looking for what was the price of the haircut. Am I solving for the part, the percent, or the whole? I've got the same hands as the whole time, so whatever. Just say it.
Isn't it whole?
Yeah, if the price of the haircut is the whole amount. So to solve whole, I can take, Sean?
Well, you could just multiply the percent by 5.
I could just multiply the percent by 5 to get to 100%, which would give me $15. Or we can take our 3 divided by our 0.2, and we get $15. So if your haircut was $15 and you leave a $3 tip, that is 20%.
Oh, wow.
All right, we got like 10 minutes, or no, we got like 5 minutes to dive into the next notes, but they are the same stuff essentially because it's using our percent equation. So the first like 2 big boxes here are just reminding you of your equations so you can reference back to those. So a soccer team goes out to eat after their winning the championship. There's their bill, and we see their subtotal.
I just wanted to ask. Is 3.2 still in the thing?
Yeah, it should be, yep. And actually, no, I don't have any more right here. 3-2. Is this not it?
No, it's right.
I was about to say.
There was just some extra thing on here. Yeah, no, you just went down.
Yeah, the first two boxes are just reminders of your equations.
Oh, here we go.
Because Math 7 is actually doing the same thing today.
They're catching up to us.
No, they still have to take the Chapter 2 test. I'm just giving them some time to get their homework done.
Oh.
So, if we see right here, go ahead and highlight or circle, make note of this. The tax is 5%, which actually, that's cheap. Most
that
tax is
is.
higher than that. Our tax around here is 7 to 8%. So, we need to calculate what is the tax. Well, the tax will be 5% of the meal. So, Mom, so what math do I set up?
142 divided by divided by a half, multiplied by a half.
This is not half.
Oh.
It's 5%, not 50%. Be
Okay,
careful.
0.05.
So we convert this first. 500ths times my meal price. Jeremiah, do you already have the answer?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It is 7.10.
So
Dollars.
money, yeah, $7.10.
You asked for the answer, not the amount of money owed.
Oh, wow. So now gratuity is just a fancy way to say tip. So don't be scared. So well, actually, first, if we total this up, I then get
49.10
I don't know where I got 20 cents in my head.
dollars.
$149.10. Now though, it tells me they brought $175. Well, okay, they have enough to cover the bill. Do they have enough for an 18% tip of the subtotal? So now we need to calculate what would be 18% of my subtotal and find out, do they have enough money to cover it? Approximately, if I round this to 150, they've got $25 left. So if I don't round, they've got $25.90. Yeah, but this is how much they've already had to pay. They already paid that much, and now they're sitting there like, hey, we need to tip her. Like, you pay before you tip. So they've paid $149.10. They only brought $175. So we need to calculate 18% of the subtotal, though. And guys, a lot of your parents probably do this wrong, which is okay because you end up leaving extra money. But when you calculate your tip, you should really be looking at the subtotal, not the total. So the tip, I would like you guys to write this out if you would. The tip will be 18% of the subtotal. So I'm just going to put ST since I'm out of space on my board. Elena, because I want to hear from some other people that I haven't heard from yet today. What is 18% as rate form or as decimal form?
Still gone.
118.
Yeah, 0.18. Then my subtotal was that $142. So how much should we leave as a tip? $25.56.
You don't have enough.
Andrew, do I have enough?
No. Well, if you
Yes.
round because.
So let's be precise then.
Yes.
To be precise, I had $175.
Yeah.
I had 175. I spent 149.
Yeah, if you're rounding, no. But if you're not, yes.
Well, money doesn't really round.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
in my head, I round it to like make it easy.
You have enough,
But
like,
we have $25.90 left. So here's what most people do.
like 10 cents.
Leave all of the money. So to technically tip 18%, I'd leave $25.56. But why would you then take home like 30 cents? Leave it for the server. Their job's tough. You have enough.
No one cares about 30 cents.
There we go.
And at some point, I guarantee some of the people in this classroom, you will work tippable positions and you will appreciate when people actually tip you decently. The only typical position I worked was at Jimmy John's delivering subs. So what people didn't realize was like I didn't get paid extra for having to use my car. So like I had to pay for the gas, I had to pay for like the maintenance on my vehicle and all that stuff. That makes like your job more expensive to work. So when people would tip me, that would help me with those extra costs. Let's figure out really quickly, because this is easy math to do. If this car salesman earns 6% on every car they sell, how much? So first thing you want to answer, we have two questions here. How much does the car salesman make? How much does the dealership keep? So calculate these out. Jeremiah, for the blue car, how much did he make?
He made $1,008.
So then, if he gets that much of the sale, how can I calculate how much the car dealership gets? Go ahead.
Subtract the amount he made by the amount the car sold for.
Yeah, from the amount the car sold for.
Yeah.
So how much does the dealership keep?
No idea. I didn't do that part.
It's going to be $15,792. For my red car, when we calculate 6% of the $25,400 car, Monica, what'd you get?
1,524.
1,524. Make sure you have the
gives us
appropriate commas, decimals.
23,876.
How come old cars cost way more money, but they
Because
have,
they're antiques
that
and
was-
people like collecting.
They're built better, to be
they
quite
have a s-
honest.
But don't they have a super? Wait, what? How are they built better?
It depends on what old car you're talking about. That's a really broad off-topic question. And to end us, our kind of sporty-looking car here, Sean, give it to us. Commission he made.
$1,980. And then the dealership gets $31,000.
So here's the question, guys. When you go to buy a car, which one do you think the car dealership or the car salesman is gonna want you to buy? The most expensive vehicle. So do not let yourself get swindled or sweet talked by somebody who wants to make money off of you.
Mine's if you want it. Like you
Well, sure, if you want it, buy it. But don't let the dealership person be like, oh, you should buy this car. This car's great. This car's made for you. Well, that's because,
They would do like supersize with more.
yeah, it's like, so he would make $900 extra dollars if he upsold you on this car. So have a great day. We will finish out this lesson tomorrow and probably do all of 3. Actually, tomorrow we're doing something totally different. So you guys will see that tomorrow.